Hey folks, how are we all doing today? Now, before we get into looking at any gear or anything like that, I just wanted to say I hit 100 subscribers this morning. In fact, I think I'm at 102 right now. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of you that have subscribed to the channel. And I hope I can keep producing content that makes it worth you having subscribed to the channel. And I want to do a shout out to the greater YouTube knife community, who, without their support and encouragement, I wouldn't have gotten to 100 subscribers nearly as fast, if at all. So, great bunch of guys and ladies out there. And I mean, I've gotten tons of support, encouragement. It's just been great. So, can't say enough about how great these folks are. So, that said, thank you again for 102 subscribers. And now let's get into, get this camera turned around and let's have a look at a knife. Okay, so yesterday I dropped an unboxing video of a package I ordered in from Chicago Knife Works. And the one we're going to look at in detail today is probably what is the best of the bunch. And that is the Rough Ryder Reserve model number, where are we at? RRR018. And that was the Kayak. Now, all the Rough Ryder Reserve knives come with a box, and in that box is this tube, metal tube, tin, I assume, and Rough Ryder built by hand, backed for life. And in the tube, you had a foam insert, and there's one at both ends. The knife came packaged in some wax paper to protect it. And here's the knife. Now, as I said before, it's a kayak, which is kind of a take on the traditional canoe pattern. And I've got a couple canoes here we can compare it to. So this one comes in nickel silver bolsters, nickel silver pins, nickel silver arrowhead shield. It's got a stabilized oak handles, and the blades are D2 tool steel. Take a closer look at the handle. I don't know what the stabilizing process is. I mean, I don't see oak wood in that, but it is a very, very beautiful pattern, very colorful. You can see it a little better on the other side. The fit and finish on this knife is excellent. You can see zero gapping in there. You've got your brass liners, your brass divider between the two springs, and there's just no gapping at all. Everything is just super smooth. I'm not catching anywhere there. The pins are inset smoothly, even the shield. I mean, that's a rounded surface of that handle, so the shield had to be rounded, and it sets in there perfectly. Same on the other side. All the pins are completely flush. There's no stepping through the bolsters. Got your nice nickel silver bolsters with your thread or ribbon, single on each side. And differing from the canoe, one of the main obvious differences is you've got that center swell. If you look at a regular canoe, you know, you've got your raised bolsters, but it's a constant dip across the center here. So I guess that's probably where they give it the kayak name, because anybody who kayaks or has seen a kayak, you've got that raised portion in the middle where the opening is that you sit through. So just very, very, very attractive. And like I said, fit and finish is excellent. Now with your traditional canoe, you have your two spear point blades, or your spear point and your pen blade. So your blades are basically the same, just one bigger than the other. With this one, however, you have, and I guess this would be your main blade here. You have a sheep's hoof or sheep's foot like blade. I couldn't call it a true sheep's hoof, but I guess a modified sheep's hoof. You've got your long swedge at the top. You've got your match strike nail pull. You've got your Rough Ryder Reserves tang stamp. On the other side, you have your model number, D2 steel, and made in China. The blade has a nice satin finish to it, and I prefer that. I don't like a mirror polished blade. I mean, they start with their fingerprint magnets. And this one right here, you don't really see the fingerprints that well. You've got a really solid, I mean, these are heavy springs on this thing. So that is a really, like, I'm not moving that blade. That is really solid. You've got a nice pop back to your half stop. And again, that's a solid half stop. And then, excuse me, that thing snaps hard. That is a strong, I mean, that's a moderate, more to the heavy side of a pull. That's a nail ripper there if you're not careful. But, I mean, I can feel that through the handle when it snaps closed. Your secondary blade is again, I want to say it's more like a coping blade. I mean, sheep's hoof coping blade. They're going for something, I guess, a little more unique with this series. Again, you've got your Rough Ryder tang stamp. And I don't think those are a stamp. Those look more like an etch. So I imagine that's a laser etch or something like that. Again, this is I mean, these are strong springs. You can just feel that snap. Again, I can move that one a wee bit. Again, a strong pop back into the half spring, and that's a solid half spring. And then a really good solid snap to the close. Your blade alignment, I mean, that's pretty close to perfectly centered right there. This side, slightly to the show side, but not to the point it's not rubbing anywheres at all on the liner. So you can't ask for a whole lot better than that. And this is a beefy knife. I say those springs are super, super solid. And I can't even push that open. So that might be, a negative for a lot of people. That's just, it takes some effort to open that thing. But on the flip side, you've got a very stable locked blade. Now, much like the canoes, when you have your main blade open, you get a nice little finger choil right there. So that makes for a nice comfortable grip. But also, like much of your Rough Ryders with that big swedge, you can feel that in the hand. If you squeeze tight on that, I feel that biting into my fingers. It's not so bad on this side because you get that nice little kind of swell for your finger there. But when you go to your secondary blade, you don't have that. And your fingers are going right down on the narrowest part of that swedge. So that I can feel. It's not so bad back here, but with that index finger, yeah, I really feel that. But would that stop me from using it? No. But if you were going to use that to, you know, say you're breaking down a lot of cardboard or something like that, I think that would, your hand would mind that after a while. This, man, that snap. Those springs are strong. So that's the general particulars on that. Now, I've done videos before where this magnet thing didn't work out so well for me, where I had highlighted the difference between the classic carbon 2 canoe and other canoes, your more standard Rough Rider canoes, in that it was a much beefier canoe, much wider overall, thicker springs, thicker blade steel. Well, I think we might have found our match, because this one is every bit as wide, if not wider. The springs seem to be about the same width. You do have your brass divider between the springs with the Kayak that you do not have with the classic carbon 2. And as I said before, it almost looks like they intended to put one there, because you do have that long gap between the two springs. Your blade thickness is probably still a little bit thicker with your classic carbon 2. But weight-wise, well, this one in the listings is 0.56 pounds. So that little sucker weighs more than half a pound. And without having my scales here, I'd say they're pretty close. The Kayak might be a little heavier. Now, it does have the stabilized oak handles, where the classic carbon 2 has the micarta, and the oak handles do appear to be a touch thicker. Maybe not towards the bolsters, but towards the center here, because they do have a rise to them, or an arch, where you don't have that with the classic carbon 2. But to compare that into your standard canoe, that's quite a bit thicker. If we do that comparison here, yeah, look at that. Definitely thicker than your classic carbon 2. Now, that may discourage some folks, in that, you know, a lot of people don't like to carry a heavy knife. That's going to be heavy in your pocket. If you've got it in a good slip, that shouldn't be an issue, you know, because the slip will sit better in your pocket. It's going to eat up more pocket space, so it's not going to flop around the way just a knife without a slip would. But I like, in my hand, I like a beefier knife. I like a knife that I can feel in my hand, that I know it's there. So I'm not displeased with the weight of this at all. I really have no complaints about this knife. It's a very attractive knife. The blades, I don't think, would be as all-around useful as your spear point blades. But there's, you know, that's going to be a great draw cutter. And you can certainly peel an apple. It's going to be a great rope cutter. And your secondary blade, maybe even more so, for your draw cuts and your breaking down cardboard or cutting rope or whatever, because that's fairly flat. We're looking at it. Let's have a peek at the grind. That is pretty even across. It might be a little bit shallow here, and a little bit shallow towards the back, but yeah, I got no complaints about that. I suppose we could cut something. I'm sure there's a piece of paper around here somewhere. I'd say that's pretty close to razor sharp. On your main blade, catch the light right here. Yeah, that grind looks pretty good to me. It's almost hard to see the grind. It's not a real, there we go. And sharpness on this one. Yep. I'm not going to take issue with that. I'd say that's a sharp blade. No, I just dropped them a little bit, so that might have helped. But anyhow, there you have it. I just love the snap on these. I like a good hard snap. You definitely do not want your fingers in the way when these blades close, because they're closing with authority. So there we have it. Your Rough Ryder Reserve Classic Carbon, Rough Ryder Reserve Kayak. So I hope you folks found this little breakdown useful and interesting. I've got 5 other knives from that package that I'll have to look at through the week, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this review, please consider tapping that like button. If you have any questions or criticisms or concerns or hot takes or whatever, throw those down in the comments below. I read everyone and I reply to everyone. And if you'd like to see more of the knives reviewed that I picked up this week, or any of the other future content I'm going to produce, and we will be steering away from knives at times. I do have a couple of pocket carry pouches that I've got on order that I want to look at, and I've got some old ones kicking around that I might break out, and a few other things. I might do a video on bow drills, because I've got an interesting little hack for those that I've not seen somebody else do. I'm not saying it hasn't been done, but it's not something I've seen, and could be a little bit of a good upcycle video for something I'm sure we all have kicking around. So if you'd like to see that, please subscribe. And do remember, as I always preach, go out there and learn a new skill. Learn to do something that will better your life and in turn can better the lives of others. It's we're at a real shortage of handy people these days, even just like general contractors. I mean, I don't know what it's like where you live, but around here, it's hard to find a quote unquote handyman, somebody who's just all around skilled at fixing this and fixing that. And, you know, somebody could help you put in a window, shingle your roof, you know, do some plumbing. I mean, we're at a shortage of those kind of people these days. And a lot of people are noticing it. I have a lot of people tell me that they have a hard time finding anybody who can just do general work for them. So, I mean, that's a whole different level of handy, you know. Just, like I said, carry some jumper cables in your car in case you encounter somebody that needs a boost. Maybe you find somebody, I mean, it's not like back in the day when I was young. Not everybody knows how to use a set of jumper cables. Everybody's depending on CAA to come to the rescue. Something simple like that. It only takes a few minutes to learn, and you can rescue yourself, or you can rescue somebody else, and they don't have a big bill to pay to somebody, to a company that had to come and rescue them. So please consider learning to be more handy. That said, again, thank you for the 102 subscribers, and We'll catch y'all later. Take care.